Welcome back to the richest player in the world, where Midas has finally hired someone willing to tell him that money is not a combat mechanic. Luna accepted the interview, but the contract came back covered in enough corrections to qualify as a threat. She requests proof that the salary is funded. She has not even entered the room and she is already billing his ego. Excellent start. She rejects his oversized equipment allowance. He asks her to set the useful amount herself. She caps reimbursement at documented field losses, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He accepts without negotiating her rate downward. She adds an immediate withdrawal right. For once, throwing money at the problem comes with a competent adult attached. She schedules a public interview inside Orem. Midas sends the complete ambush evidence packet, giving Luna facts instead of another sales pitch. She accepts the meeting without promising the job. She enters the Ranger Lodge exactly on time. She identifies Midas from the crowd around his table. He stands and offers the formal greeting she requested. Luna arrives with the expression of someone who has already read the warning label. He offers refreshments priced above a beginner's armor set. She orders plain tea instead. He asks whether she reviewed the evidence, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She identifies the disabled return stone as the decisive warning. He admits he continued after recognizing the trap. That handshake says professional partnership, her eyes say supervised disaster. He accepts the criticism without defending himself. Luna agrees to one paid assessment, though her expression makes the supervision clause feel implied. She warns that failing it ends the interview. She leads Midas onto the regulated training yard. She verifies that his novice gear is repaired. She orders Ashfang to remain sealed. Midas requested no special treatment, which is brave right up until he receives it. She chooses the crowded public lane instead. She explains that embarrassment is part of useful feedback. He removes every paid combat buff, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She checks his base stamina and movement statistics. He discovers his merchant recovery penalty. The rich beginner has discovered the one thing his wallet cannot skip, the tutorial. He asks for the fastest way to correct it. No shortcut, no premium skip button. He has to learn the tutorial like everyone else. She starts the mechanics assessment. He enters the moving target lane. She instructs him to cross without drawing aggro. He watches only the nearest training beast. And there it is, the graceful combat debut of a man losing an argument with the floor. That missed ear twitch becomes a beast in his blind spot, which is a fairly persuasive correction. He blocks late and loses most of his stamina. She ends the drill before he takes a second hit, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He asks which tell he missed. She demonstrates the ear twitch and weight shift. Credit where it is due. No excuses, no tantrum, just one very expensive lesson. She expects him to blame the unfamiliar class. More importantly, he logs the failure under his own decisions. No excuses, just data. She resets the lane for another attempt. He begins the lane a second time. He scans both beasts before moving. He catches the rear beast's ear twitch. He only needs to see the pattern once, which is mildly unfair to everyone who actually practiced. Right on schedule, the front beast turns away and opens the interval he was waiting for. He crosses through the safe interval. The rear beast lunges after Midas has already cleared it, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He finishes with most of his stamina intact. She checks that he used no purchased item. Luna was prepared for a whale. Unfortunately, this whale takes notes. She removes the failure mark from her scorecard. Instead of sulking, Midas asks for a harder version, and Luna almost lets him see that she approves. She adds obstacles and a timed pursuit to the lane. She forbids Midas from sprinting before contact. He compares stamina to working capital. Explains stamina as exercise and he struggles. Explain it as capital allocation and suddenly he is a scholar. He walks the low-risk opening segment. Once he commits to the path, the pursuing beast slips in behind him. He spends stamina only at the narrow turn, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He uses the obstacle to break line of sight. The obstacle cuts line of sight, and the pursuing beast finally drops aggro. Apparently, fiscal responsibility was the real combat class all along. She explains that zero stamina means zero choices. He records the rule, so Luna raises the difficulty before his confidence can get comfortable. She summons a shielded training brute. She strikes once to establish its threat target. She orders Midas to take aggro without dealing damage. Luna handles the monster. Midas handles the spreadsheet happening behind his eyes. He notices threat rises when he blocks Luna's retreat. He steps between Luna and the Brute. The Brute transfers aggro to Midas, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He kites it around the marked pillar. She shoots the exposed rear plate. Aggro management is just hostile customer service with larger teeth. He predicts the second transfer correctly. They finish untouched, and Midas realizes aggro is a resource with teeth. She disables Midas's enlarged threat indicators. She places 3 practice enemies around the yard. He tracks the enemy directly in front of him. Removing the interface is cruel, educational, and therefore completely on brand for Luna. He turns toward the sound without moving his feet. A shadow on the left gives away the next attack before the enemy moves. He pivots away from the strike, and that small choice changes the whole situation. On the right, a reflection in his ledger clasp supplies the warning his minimap no longer does. He blocks without looking directly at it. The minimap has left the chat, along with most of Midas's confidence. He adjusts his camera distance and audio mix. Luna accepts the accessibility settings as tools, and he clears the drill without turning them into a crutch. She brings Midas to the yard's repair counter. She presents the bill for his damaged novice gear. He approves the payment without reading the total. Nothing teaches restraint like receiving an itemized invoice for being reckless. She converts the cost into average player hours. He realizes the shoulder guard equals weeks of beginner income. She explains why players avoid experimental tactics, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He asks whether employers normally reimburse field damage. She says most guilds call it the member's responsibility. He can afford the repair. Luna is trying to make him understand why that is not the point. She warns him not to solve exploitation with dependency. His better answer is capped, transparent reimbursement. Luna adds it to the contract instead of his tab. She reviews Midas's proposed training supplies. She deletes the legendary emergency elixir. He points out that he can afford it. His original shopping list could have supplied a small war. Luna permits 1 backpack. She removes duplicate high-tier barrier scrolls. He asks what survives the cut. She keeps basic healing, smoke, rope, chalk, and repair patches, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He questions the ordinary chalk. She demonstrates route marks that cannot be remotely spoofed. This may be the first time Julian Cross has ever heard the phrase, "put it back." She sets a hard consumable budget for the route. He accepts the spending cap without quietly inflating it, a novel encounter with the word, enough. He meets Luna at the north gate before dawn. She checks every item against the approved loadout. He leaves Ashfang sealed in city storage. The lesson finally leaves the safety rails, and Midas is carrying exactly what he was told. Character growth. He activates a shared route log. She draws the first physical chalk mark. He copies the mark into his ledger map, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She sets herself as guide without claiming party command. He accepts her emergency authority on the route. Ashfang stays sealed in storage because an unequipable sword is still just an expensive paperweight. He identifies the expected repair and supply costs. Under normal conditions, Luna confirms the road is beginner safe. Naturally, normal conditions are already leaving. She spots a fresh rescue marker beyond the signed path. He checks it against the official route registry. The official registry has no active rescue request, so the marker is either wrong or bait. A rescue marker appears where no rescue marker belongs. Subtle, these criminals are not. He identifies its signature as a relayed party beacon. She recognizes the technique from Rook's ambush evidence. He refuses to follow the marker blindly, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She climbs the ridge for a safe visual check. She sees 3 beginners moving toward the false beacon. Luna sees bait. Midas sees a badly structured contract. Somehow, both are threatening. Their verified warning never arrives. An unknown party filter blocks it before the beginners can read it. That settles it for Luna. The training route is compromised and the lesson has become a rescue. He and Luna cut across the safe ridge path. She reaches the beginners before the false descent. He identifies a coercive guide contract on their party status. The stranded beginners did everything normal players are told to do, and that is exactly why the trap worked. She finds their assigned guide has vanished. He reads a death drop collateral clause. She calls the clause system invalid but practically dangerous, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He offers a no-cost temporary rescue party. The beginners still hesitate. After one poisoned offer, even free help looks expensive. Midas offers supplies without sneaking ownership into the fine print. That should not feel revolutionary, yet here we are. He places the rescue supplies into neutral escrow. They finally accept the bounded rescue terms, keeping both their loot and the right to walk away. She inspects the beginner's guide token. He matches its guarantor to a frozen Rook account. The token traces to a brand new shell seller because villains also enjoy paperwork when it hides them. Rook is gone, but his business model has the persistence of mold. He realizes withdrawal will trigger the waiting attackers. She proposes returning to Aurum with the evidence. The beginner's return stones fail simultaneously, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He confirms his and Luna's stones still work. She identifies selective route interference. The signature changed, the greed did not. Luna has seen enough. She warns that staying changes her paid assessment. Midas authorizes Luna's full hazard rate without bargaining. Whatever signature changed, the danger did not. She studies the sealed quarry gate. She identifies the manual route reset inside the checkpoint. He confirms the reset can restore the beginner's stones. The safe exit is inside the dangerous quarry, which is game design language for good luck. He assigns neutral rescue inventory permissions. She draws an unspoofable chalk line at the entrance. The quarry gate opens on the beginner's active contract, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He records the gate's seller signature. She enters first with her bow drawn. Midas buys the rescue supplies, but Luna makes sure he cannot buy command. The beginners make it across first, just before the quarry gate begins to close. Luna counts every person inside before moving on. Rescue first, improvisation second. Then the quarry seals behind Midas, removing the comforting option called Leave. The interface removes their exit and replaces it with a kill quota. The quarry is no longer pretending to be a lesson. She identifies the quota as impossible for beginners. The gate slams shut, the timer starts, and the tutorial has officially developed murder mechanics. An anonymous seller offers an exit for all their tradable inventory. Subtle extortion is apparently out of stock. She orders everyone to ignore the extortion timer. He preserves the altered contract state, and that small choice changes the whole situation. Stonecrawler echoes arrive from 2 tunnels, forcing the party to choose its ground quickly. She chooses the narrower eastern tunnel. At least the contract is honest now. It wants them dead right on the screen. She assigns him to clear the carts without exhausting stamina. Midas starts with only the critical obstructions, finally treating the route as more valuable than the loot on it. He identifies an ore cart with the highest resale value. He moves toward the valuable cart first. She warns that its axle is load-bearing. Midas finds the most valuable object in the room and immediately touches it. Somewhere, Luna develops a headache. The shifted cart brings loose stone down across the eastern retreat, turning one bad touch into a blocked escape. The narrowed chamber funnels the first stonecrawler straight toward them. He spends too much stamina pushing the cart back, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She draws aggro away from the beginners. He fails to reach the safe position on time. The cart was treasure, bait, and structural engineering. 2 out of 3 would have been manageable. Everyone survives the charge, but their clean retreat is gone and the quarry has collected its price. Midas owns the mistake. He protected the asset and forgot the route that made it useful. She checks the beginners for injuries. She confronts Midas beside the collapsed route. He refuses to blame incomplete information. The important part is not that he failed, it is that he can name precisely how he failed. She asks what the cart was actually worth in context. He answers that it had negative value while supporting the wall. She asks what he will watch next time, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He names structure, escape, people, and only then assets. She accepts the correction but not the result. Luna is not being gentle, but she is giving him another decision. That is the lesson. She refuses an additional apology bonus. Luna leads them deeper toward the manual reset, giving him another decision instead of an easy absolution. He reaches a second chamber with 2 loaded supports. He ignores the glittering ore stacked beside them. She notices a stone crawler preparing to charge. Same trap, different room. This time, the expensive student checks what the cart is holding up. He identifies the empty support as safe to move. He shifts only the empty brace into the lane. The stone crawler strikes the brace and turns sideways, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She pins the exposed leg without using a premium arrow. He guides the beginners through the preserved exit. He leaves the valuable ore behind and saves everyone. Somewhere, a billionaire sheds a single tear. She marks the repeated error as corrected under pressure. He records why the second choice worked. Apparently, growth looks a lot like leaving valuable ore alone. The surviving party reaches the checkpoint market, where the promised reset is waiting behind another system. She searches the root reset controls. He notices every emergency repair kit has been purchased. Luna reads danger. Midas reads ownership. Together, they notice the scam hiding between them. He checks who sold the kits. Every purchase points back to one maintenance vendor, turning bad luck into a business model. He finds the vendor also owns the checkpoint lock lease, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She realizes the attackers profit from every failed rescue. He traces the lease to the kill quota trigger. The villain's fatal mistake was leaving accounting records near a man who enjoys acquisitions. He credits her root logic for getting them there alive. Together, they identify the vendor terminal as the reset key. The scam has finally left its ledger unlocked. She activates the maintenance terminal. The terminal finally names its price, a massive emergency reset fee built for desperate players. The displayed fee sends the beginners into panic. The number was designed to make surrender feel reasonable. He could pay the fee in one click. Refusing is harder and considerably more satisfying. She warns that paying would validate the extortion lease. He asks whether the payment enters protected escrow. The terminal reveals direct transfer to the shell vendor, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He refuses the purchase despite the closing timer. She finds a maintenance performance clause in the lease. Paying would solve the door. Voiding the contract solves the people behind it. She files a system challenge against the fee. Payment freezes while a live maintenance trial opens. Now they can fix the root instead of financing the trap. The wall opens onto a guardian chamber, because customer support in Elysium apparently has a boss phase. Passing the maintenance trial means restoring one safe route, not merely surviving the room. She reads the guardian's rotating armor pattern. Naturally, the customer service dispute has escalated into a boss fight. The condition is simple and cruel. Repair one mechanism while the guardian tries to stop them. She assigns the beginners to the protected repair station. He allocates repair patches from neutral inventory, and that small choice changes the whole situation. The Guardian wakes before anyone finishes positioning because preparation would be terribly customer-friendly. She takes first aggro with a marked arrow. Elysium's maintenance department appears to be armed and deeply unionized. It immediately turns toward the weakest mechanism, proving the Guardian is protecting the failure itself. Midas sees the real rule. This thing is programmed to prevent successful maintenance, not merely defeat players. She orders Midas to take the next aggro transfer. He offers a premium barrier scroll instead. She refuses to waste the scroll before the repair phase. Midas tries to protect Luna by removing her choice. She corrects that mistake at arrow point. He steps into the transfer position Luna taught him. Its target changes exactly on cue, confirming that the attack pattern can be managed. He kites it around the intact support, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She fires into the exposed rear seam. He resists spending the barrier during the near miss. A guide is not a shield, and a partnership is not an asset purchase. He is learning. She acknowledges that Midas trusted her call. He finally says it plainly. Funding expertise also means following it when the expert says move. The Guardian seals its damaged rear seam, closing the opening Luna just created. Luna tests the new plate, and her next arrow glances away without finding the seam. Worse, it abandons the 3-attack rotation they learned. The market, as usual, has changed the rules. The Guardian changes the rules mid-fight. Midas notices because changing rules is what markets do best. He notices the pattern changed when repairs reached 1/3. He predicts another change at 2/3. She asks for evidence instead of trusting the guess, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He shows the maintenance progress linked to armor commands. She cancels the retreat before losing the repair station. For the first time, Luna trusts his call before she can verify it herself. To strike the repair station, the Guardian exposes its front vents, the exact trade Midas predicted. Luna trusts his call before she can verify it and shifts her aim to the vents. Her arrow shatters the first vent, turning his prediction into a very practical opening. He predicts the Guardian will protect the opposite side. The Guardian protects the opposite side exactly as expected. Midas has finally found a pattern that behaves like a market. Her mechanics create the opening, his systems reading tells her where it will appear. He transfers aggro with a protective block. She destroys the second vent from the flank. The repair team reaches 2/3 completion, and that small choice changes the whole situation. The Guardian begins its final armor configuration, sealing options as fast as the team creates them. He identifies the intact support as the protected weak link. Money did not win this fight, it merely funded the people who did. He uses the saved barrier scroll to shield the repair team. The repaired route comes online as the Guardian falls. Money funded the solution, people actually delivered it. The system validates the restored route, which means the fee has just lost its excuse to exist. With the route validated, the emergency fee collapses to 0, as exploitative miracles often do under audit. Next, the shell vendor's maintenance lease is suspended, cutting the trap off at its business model. No recruitment pitch, no ownership clause, no victory speech, just the route restored. All 6 return stones reactivate at once. For the first time since the gate closed, leaving is a real choice. He releases unused rescue supplies back to escrow. The beginner leader offers future loyalty and gratitude, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He refuses ownership or unpaid obligation. She confirms the rescue milestone is complete. The beginners keep their loot and their choices. Midas may actually be getting the point. She checks that the payment matches the contract exactly. They prepare to leave with their loot and choices intact, which is a better rescue than Midas first imagined. He exports the altered guide contract. She copies the false rescue beacon signature. He preserves the shell vendor lease. Before anyone celebrates, the evidence leaves the quarry. Finally, someone in this story backs up the receipts. The system packages the maintenance result while Luna preserves the evidence behind it. He sends the evidence to Mara before traveling. An anonymous network account attempts to delete the guide token, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She removes the physical token from the terminal. He verifies the deletion attempt is time-stamped. Rook's network just lost another branch, and this one came with an audit trail. She activates the restored exit route. The full party returns safely to Orem, carrying an audit trail that Rook's surviving network will not enjoy. She meets Midas after the rescued party departs. She reviews his assessment scorecard. He expects the failed cart decision to end the contract. Luna's official verdict is embarrassing mechanics, exceptional learning speed. Honestly, frame it. She also records that Midas corrected the same error under pressure. He asks whether that is enough to pass. She says his mechanics remain embarrassingly weak, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She admits his learning speed is exceptional. He asks whether she will accept the guide contract. She signs because he changed his behavior, not because he raised the offer. He accepts the change without increasing control. Luna signs because his behavior changed, not because the number did. That distinction is the whole contract. He receives Luna's signed agreement. He sends the first scheduled payment. She stares at the amount despite having negotiated it. Their first meal as partners is the cheap stew again. Romance has never been so aggressively budget conscious. She says it is correct and still ridiculous. He suggests celebrating with the lodge's premium dinner. She checks the menu price before answering, and that small choice changes the whole situation. She chooses the ordinary stew again. He orders the same meal without complaint. He listened outside combat too, which may be the most surprising victory of the day. He thanks her for keeping him alive. Her final warning comes with a surcharge for touching load-bearing treasure. He has at least earned the joke. He receives an unknown system notification after Luna leaves. Instead of damage numbers, the notification replays every important quarry decision. The evaluator cares about rescue funding, rejected ownership, and the voided lease, not his damage numbers. The flashy combat classes arrive first because the system knows how to sell. He sees Duelist Investor and Gilded Commander. Only then does a third option appear, tucked beneath a warning label like something the system expects players to ignore. Merchant is mocked as a low combat path, and that small choice changes the whole situation. He notices that it scales through contracts and infrastructure. Then the system asks the question underneath all of it: is wealth a weapon or a network? Then it reveals the option everyone laughs at, and Midas finally sees a weapon shaped exactly like his mind. Midas ignores the shiny combat classes and opens the option everyone else treats like a joke. The trial points toward a failing supply route, which, to Midas, sounds less like a crisis and more like an introduction. We'll see you in episode 4.